You know, there's one thing I've always wanted to fix in Cam Twist that drives me crazy. Our music actually goes on for an additional like 2 minutes or so. And it's just a nice underbed, and it works so that you can, it'll fade out slowly over time. The problem is, as soon as you cut to a camera in Cam Twist, the video stops playing, and so the music stops with it. So it's like doobie doobie da.
It's really annoying.
Welcome to Spacevidcast. My name is Benjamin Higginbotham. With me is the beautiful, lovely, wonderful, and incredibly talented Carrie Ann Higginbotham. And this is our show for Friday, December 11th, 2009. That was all out of order.
This is our show.
So, you know, we do this little internet shindig thing. Actually, it's as I mentioned 2 episodes, maybe 3 episodes ago, I love the chat room because before the show, and you can't see it on the screen when the open is rolling, but BZ, I think BZ Wing Zero started this, where he would do different elements during the countdown, like, you know, APU start and 3, 2, 1 liftoff type stuff. Well, now he's got a good chunk of the room doing that. I know that Twicked did it. Oh no, was it Twicked or was it Woe Jeffrey? Some of you, I mean, Gisick did it.
All the same.
Yeah, exactly. They're all the same people. Now, Gisick did it. And well, where I'm going with this is that interacting with the show live is very, very different than watching it on demand. And there was a comment even made in YouTube which says, do you ever answer any of the questions in the chat room down here at the bottom of the screen?
No, we don't.
Well, we do, but not necessarily always during the live show. It's a lot to juggle, and sometimes we don't see the questions, or it takes a little while for us to get the answers. But a lot of these questions are answered in post-show. Right. And a lot of the questions are also answered through our many outlets, either through the blog itself, through the YouTube channel, through
like Birds is saying, we do answer YouTube questions.
Oh yeah, we answer YouTube questions. We answer a bunch of different stuff. We're trying to do better with answering the chat room at the bottom but you know, we're doing a lot here. I mean, we're interviewing people and trying to remember information and not make stuff up at the top of our heads.
I do that anyway.
But the point is, the chat room also answers a lot of these questions. And if you really want to interact and be part of the show and enjoy everything way much more than the on-demand show, join us live. It's every Friday. It's 2 o'clock a.m. Coordinated Universal Time, and we're going to have another one a week from now, and the experience is completely different, and I think you guys are going to like it a lot more if you were to participate live than if you just watch it on demand. And there's a huge discrepancy between the live viewers and the on-demand viewers, I think, at least.
Yeah, it's very interesting, but at the same time, it's a completely different experience.
It's a way better experience. And in addition,
way better.
It's a way better experience because you get to talk with us, and we're awesome. You get to talk with the great people inside of the chat room, and you don't have to just do it during the live shows. We're on 24/7. We've got a 24/7 channel.
That we do.
So you can join, especially if you're in Europe. We're trying to build the audience base up so when everyone is sleeping in the U.S., we can continue the chat room and get the conversation going all throughout the day. It's really neat. You can just pop in at any time and just ask your space geek questions.
We got people in Australia, and we've got people all over the place.
So point is, join us live anytime, and I think you'll have tons of fun. You know what? I think we should actually get the show started. Stop talking about how awesome we are live, and let's do some space news. Space news. So, I was prepping for this first story, and I was going to see what it was like and get it all ready, because we've got a Roku box at home, which, by the way, now you can watch your Spacevidcast on demand only, not live, oddly enough, after I just did that big spiel, on your Roku box by going to the Blip channel and then searching for Spacevidcast, and you just pop it up right there in high def. It's pretty cool. But in addition, they also have Amazon Unbox. And Amazon is giving away When We Left the Earth Season 1 for free when you use the code BLASTOFF. I was like, that's epically cool.
Right.
So they're giving away this series, and I went to go get it.
Right.
And I clicked on the link, the get it now, and I was going to enter my code.
Right.
And it said, congratulations, you have purchased this for, whatever it was. And I said, oh, I wanted it for free. So this news story is 2-part. One, you can get it for free on Amazon. You can watch it on Amazon Unbox. You can watch it on your computer. You can watch it on a Roku box or anything that supports Amazon Unbox.
Right.
2, don't do what I did and just click the button. Follow the instructions very carefully, because otherwise you're going to pay for it when you don't mean to. There's a link. There's the giant buy it now button.
Right.
You don't want that. You want the text link right above it that's like, enter your coupon code.
Right, so it's enter the coupon code, blast off, and then it's like, click here. It's really, really tiny, but that's what you want to do.
Yep.
Yes, you want to blast off first. And they're only giving away, as far as I know, they're only giving away season 1. So if you do like it, which I'm sure you will, you can go ahead and buy other episodes and all of that other fun jazz. But it's very, very interesting stuff. Really just... yeah, it's very cool. I was really excited when I saw that.
Did everyone see that link that was posted? Hang on, I'm just gonna. This is
Gigantor link of doom. Is that what that was?
Yeah, and the best part is, so we're giving out this link. Clearly, this only works live, and if you're in the chat room, because there is no way you're gonna have enough time to copy that before someone else writes something.
Though.
Yep, there you go. Boom.
Try.
We couldn't tiny URL that for you. No. We're going to make it as hard as possible for you. So you have to type in the whole question mark. Wait, hang on. Equals %. I don't know what's going on. But it's cool because it's a great series. And is that series right there?
When We Left Earth? Mm-hmm. Why, yes, it is.
And I believe, have we already started the contest?
No, we have not.
Another benefit of joining us live, not only can you get it free through Amazon Unbox, but we're giving a free Blu-ray version away live on the show. You know how this works. It's our normal marketing thing that we do to try to get more viewers, and that is you have to tweet out that you're watching Space Vidcast. So make sure to mention the @SpaceVidcast in your tweet, and you are eligible for this, and we will pick someone when we come back from the break.
And it's Blu-ray, by the way, you guys.
Blu-ray, so make sure you have a Blu-ray player.
Well, that or...
tweet it out anyhow, but I'm
tweet
just
it out
saying.
anyhow because you're very, in the future you will have a Blu-ray player, I'm sure, and or it would make a great Christmas gift.
All right, so that's the fluff news. Then there are pretty much 3 awesome news stories. The first is how could we not talk about Virgin Galactic?
Well, I was determined to not talk about it at all because it seems like everyone and their mother is talking about it, and I've kind of had it up to here.
No, I mean, well, this is the future of space travel. I mean, this is the future of pretty much everything. So, of course, people are talking about it. And the great thing about them talking about it is that mass media is talking about it as well. I mean, Virgin is doing a great job of getting space travel and everything that we do here at Space Vidcast into the households of people that normally wouldn't pay much attention. And now with Spaceship 2 at that level, obviously they haven't done any testing with it, but at least it looks like something real at this point. People are starting to really get excited about this stuff.
Yeah,
and
no, it is.
As they're saying in the chat room, it is a beautiful looking ship. It truly is.
Gorgeous. And I actually think that these pictures are very cool. People were talking about how it was really cold at the time of the unveiling and stuff like that. But I don't know, it's sort of like a movie where all of the roads are always wet, even if it hasn't been raining. Like it just kind of has this really thematic, theatrical sort of quality to it that it's very cool in those pictures.
Yep. So that they unveiled Spaceship 2 a couple days ago now, and they'd already unveiled White Knight 2, and they've already done some tests with White Knight 2 and found some issues with White Knight 2. That's why we test. And they haven't started any tests with Spaceship 2 yet.
Right.
But this is all based off the technology that Scaled Composites built to win the Ansari X Prize. And they built, at that time, White Knight 1 and Spaceship 1. And we've actually got a size comparison between the two, because Spaceship 2 isn't just a rehash of what White Knight 1 and Spaceship 1 were. So that at the top of your screen is Spaceship 1, which won the Ansari X Prize.
Yes.
And then below that is the new Spaceship 2.
Which you can see carries a lot more people.
I think it's 5. It looks like it carries 6, but I seem to remember that it carries 5. Someone in the chat room, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I could be wrong about that. Yeah, but I think you're right on that one. Anyway, but yeah, no, and this was part of the confusion that I personally had. And I know everyone's been talking about the unveiling, and I guess that's kind of my point, is that I didn't want to just talk about the unveiling, but this is a really sort of important picture that I think a lot of people are sort of skimming over to a certain extent. And the difference between Spaceship 1 and Spaceship 2 is huge. Carries 6.
6, but 5 will make it back alive.
Thank you, Prince. That's great.
Gotta love the chat room. In addition, so they did this big unveiling party, and if you watched it on the Space Vidcast during the live event, you could kind of tell they had this, there was this screen in the back, and it was just flapping back and forth violently because it was really, really windy. And basically, they did this great unveiling, and then they had to evacuate everyone because the winds gusted up to like 15, 16 miles an hour. Check this out. We actually have the aftermath footage. This is what happened after the party. This is the destruction of everything. You can see, look at that. Look at that.
Stuff was everywhere. I hope they got their deposit back on that stuff. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, it's a good thing that people got out of there. I'm not trying to say that, oh, people were complaining it was cold. You know, no, really, it was a little crazy right around there.
Man,
caution tape kind of says it all right there. But
yep.
Yeah, that was nasty. But like I said, it kind of had this really cool quality to it with this, I don't know, with the steam and the water and the blue and the...
Yeah, but I think the steam and the water was all planned, right? So they put the lights out there and they had this really cool effect where they were like doing these big strobe lights when they were rolling Spaceship 2 out. The problem was it was so windy that the actual scaffold was bending in the wind as we were trying to do that. So they got the strobe light that's kind of going as they're pointing it out.
Strobing way more than they wanted to.
Don't get me wrong, it looked really cool. They did a great job, but it was so yeah. Anyhow, point is, Virgin Galactic is not ready for flying yet. You cannot fly aboard a Virgin Galactic flight yet. However, they are one step closer, and that's a pretty big step closer. Now, they still need to do drop tests, and then they got to do flight tests, and then they got to actually put humans in there. There's got to be a lot more testing that goes on. So you're not going to see any actual paying customers fly in 2010 or even really 2011, but 2012 is when they'll probably start putting paying customers on board, and you'll be able to fly into space. And it's a new era for humanity. I know that sounds overly dramatic and cheesy, but it truly is. This is the first time ever that human spaceflight has become affordable to the masses. Now, it's only suborbital flight, and it's still $200,000. It's expensive. It doesn't go as high as everyone wants it to go.
Right.
But you know what? This is the first step, and these are the guys crazy enough to make that first step happen, and I am very excited about that because someone has to force us to move forward, and I'm sick of being in low Earth orbit and just always having it for the select few. I don't want to be in low Earth orbit. This only goes suborbital. But regardless, I mean, this is what gets us from point A to point B, and I'm excited. Now, Virgin Galactic's not the only company. We've got X-Corp, we've got Armadillo, we've got Virgin Galactic. There is that Galactic Suite, I think, although they're a little bit more crazy. So there are a bunch of different companies making this happen, but this is the most real vehicle to date. This is the one where you look at it and go, that's being built, that's happening right now. And they've got the money to make this thing happen. Anyhow, I get off my soapbox for a little while. Sorry. I kind of went, oh, this is awesome. So.
All right, right on.
Yep. Moving along. I've lost my timeline.
What's
What's next?
What's next is the swirl of doom.
So you'd have to be living under a rock to miss this one.
The swirl of fear.
The vortex, the black hole, the vortex of doom. You guys, I'm sure you guys heard about and saw this. Check these pictures out and this video we've got. This was a swirling. That's live. Well, not live video. That's live right now. Oh my gosh, it's swirling.
It's still
again.
going on.
That's the vortex as was seen by a camera. It's low resolution, so your high def feed kind of looks eh. Yeah, right? It's like epic northern lights. It really was.
Very cool. And the thing that I didn't realize when the stories were first coming out, because all I had seen were, see that? How it swirls into blackness? Ooh. I hadn't seen that part. Yeah. I only saw the still images. And so people were like, I think it's a black hole. I'm like, I don't think it would be a black hole if it's blue and white, you guys. But then I saw the video and was freaking out about how crazy cool that looks.
Yeah, now as Tewicket is mentioning, this is explained now. Of course, the UFO fanatics came out and they're like, it's a UFO or it's a military experiment gone wrong. No, it's a wormhole.
No. My favorite were the people who were saying that because Obama got the Peace Prize, it was the aliens coming down to talk to him or something along those lines. And by the way, that was like in the Christian Monitor or something. And I was just like, apparently, now that Christians can believe in aliens, we think they're everywhere.
And just look at that, though. I mean, these are actual pictures, and it was seen for hundreds of miles. This was a real event that occurred.
Yes.
So it's not like people are making this up. I mean, this actually happened.
Right. When we first saw it, I totally thought that was photoshopped. I mean, it's beautiful. Look at that. That's so cool looking.
Yeah,
but that's really an actual photograph.
Now we've got this was posted on YouTube. There's an actual explanation as to what this is. So check it out. Here's what's really going on.
So here's an emulation of how these strange spirals might have formed. Imagine an orbiting piece of space junk on a discarded stage. It's chucking out some sort of fuel out the back and out the side. This gets it spinning, and as it spins, this turns the ejector into a large spiral viewed from above here and from in front. If you cut to a third-person perspective, you get to see this spiral growing in the sky as this thing moves through the sky. Stuff being left out the back leaves the spiraling blue trace. Stuff throwing out the side leaves the spiraling white trace. And then when it runs out, when it stops, you get this large black disc that appears to grow from the middle outwards. So it looks beautiful, but probably a fairly ordinary explanation.
Yep. And basically it was I believe a Russian rocket gone amiss. Probably in that exact fashion with the fuel spinning, and then you get that vortex.
They said it was the third stage of the rocket that kind of just went all kablooey like that.
Of course, the internet's like, no, it's a conspiracy, it's a cover-up. We all know it was actually the LHC had formed a black hole. That's really what happened.
But it was just a little one.
Just a little one.
So that's why it just kind of burnt out like that.
Fuel in the fire, fuel in the fire.
Whatever.
And finally, you heard about this last story, and I know nothing about it. You like, apparently it came out today, and this is the UK's own ESA.
The UK's own ESA?
That's...
I suppose that's what I wrote. Anyway, so the UK is going to have, is going to have a dedicated space agency. Right now, they, of course, have been part of ESA, the European Space Agency, as are a lot of other countries in Europe. But the UK, really? Is that the way we're going to do it? Fine. UK has decided that they want to have their own proper space agency. I'm just going to stop. You can just... I don't do that with your stories, do I?
I'll be over here. Go ahead.
That would really help.
Go ahead.
So, like I was saying, the United Kingdom has decided that they want to have their own proper space agency, their own money going into it, and they will still, as far as I'm aware, my understanding is that they will still be working with ESA and all those other things, but on the side, they kind of have their own little shebang going on with their own astronauts and their own satellites and all of that other stuff. Ben, yes, Ben went away. You better now?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Do you know why you were in the timeout box?
No. Is that the end of the story? Pretty much, they're extending their own space agency.
Yeah, no, it's. I think it's very cool. I mean, there's not a whole lot else to say about it because it hasn't gone through exactly yet.
Feels like everyone's starting their own space agency. And what's also interesting, we mentioned this on Twitter, seems like there's a lot more press happening around space travel recently as well. Like, people are really starting to, maybe the space advocate in me, obviously, but people I think are starting to get excited about this stuff again. At least I hope. And I think it's spurred on by the retirement of the space shuttle. The first flights of Virgin Galactic, at least them rolling out the Spaceship 2 and first flights of White Knight 2, and SpaceX with their Falcon 9 and their Dragon module. And I think it's kind of, again, to be super cheesy, kind of exciting to be alive right now. I mean, it's pretty cool stuff.
No, it is. I thought that was very cool. And I thought that it was very interesting that the UK in general didn't want to just continue to contribute to ESA, that they were like, you know what? I'm not really sure about these Italian guys or these French guys or those Germans over there. We're going to just make our own. Like, okay, why bother? You're already, but, cool, whatever you want to do.
When we come back, we're going to be talking with Emory Stagmer, I hope I got that right, about LCROSS. He was on the LCROSS programs with Northrop Grumman, and he is a...
He was on the LCROSS.
He was on it. He actually, you know what? He is responsible for blowing up the moon and waging war.
It was his problem.
With the aliens that live on the moon. So you get to yell at him when we come back.
Hello and welcome to the Crow River Coffee Company in Watertown, Minnesota. Situated on the bank of the beautiful Crow River, we offer espresso drinks, delicious food, live music, bulk beans, and artisan items. You can see us at crowrivercoffee.com. Thanks.
right now.
So we have this giant.
Of course he stops as soon as
Can
we
you go to
say
camera
it.
2 for a moment, just for me? We have this giant HD TV that we can see right here, right? That has Vax in the background. And when we play the counter, he just breaks out a little, like bongo drum,
dancing,
and he starts
and
dancing and hitting the drum.
Weird. Just
So, and then I hear Calf say audio's up, and so I'm like, try not to make it.
nothing we can do.
Try not to make any noise. Before we went to break, we had our usual Twitter content. And I'm done. Thank you.
And good night.
We had our Twitter contest where you had to tweet out saying that you were watching the show. Make sure you had the mention of @Spacevidcast so we can see it in there. And the way this works is we take the number of viewers, add the numbers all together, and then count down from the top of the list. That meant number of people.
Right. So
and
if there's 12 people,
it'd be
3.
Right. Yeah, exactly, right? So tonight's winner is Snibble. Congratulations, Snibble. You've won a Blu-ray copy of When We Left the Earth.
And
the
I
NASA
just want to say
missions.
very quickly, I had nothing to do with it. It really is just the numbers.
No, yeah, no.
Just because you said Carrie Ann for the win had nothing
did
to
he
do.
really?
Yes, he did. And Ben's like, that one. And I'm like, are you sure? Count that. Yeah, okay, dude. I mean, that's the way it goes, I guess. So
Yep.
I just, there's no kissing up that will get you anything in particular. Just he happened to tweet out, and that happened to be the way the numbers
And the
crumbled.
only way you can win is by watching live, obviously. And before we get into our interview with Emory, I just wanted to thank the Crow River Space Agency for hosting us. And you can get your copy.
You can get your copy of coffee.
You can get your copy of coffee. You can get your Blast Off blend, which is our official Spacevidcast blend of coffee from the Crow River Coffee Company, by going to spacevidcast.com and clicking on the Blast Off blend icon. It looks a lot like a Google ad, so don't be fooled. It is on every single page of the website, unless we're live. So actually right now it's not on there. But every other page of the website. I'll fix that for next show. I just realized that in my head. I'm like, actually,
Not
no.
right there. Okay, never mind.
Joining us live, still back live, we've got Emory Stagmer. You know what?
Wow, you are having a day, aren't you?
Interview is all yours, Carrie Ann. Take it from here. Go.
Great. So, Emory, how you doing?
Hey, it's really great. Glad to be on. I've been a real fan since I found you guys on YouTube a while back.
Oh,
And
thank you.
you've joined us live for a while. I mean, you're an actual active space vidcaster. This is not your first show by any stretch of the imagination.
I think it's about fourth or something. I found you guys, like I said, some number of weeks ago, and then finally got on the live show, probably near about the time of the LCROSS impact, because I was working crazy hours and just couldn't get home in time to get on the show at 9 o'clock at night. So.
Right.
And you were working crazy hours because you were the flight software lead for the LCROSS program itself. So you're the one. What does that entail? I mean, were you making sure the vehicle was steering correctly, or just making sure it didn't go into an endless reboot loop like the MRO did?
Yeah, I'm the guy that's writing the code that is making sure that the spacecraft, it doesn't go into an endless reboot loop. Now, I was also working flight operations, but mostly there to answer questions, and they said, software you go for this particular option. I'd say yes, software's go. So I get to say that a lot.
Did you say did you say it with just that much energy? You're like, yes, go, just go. Seriously.
Yeah, no, just go. Would you please? No, it's like go flight. You just, you're very crisp, you're very clean. You wait your turn. You're trying to be very on the money. The flight ops guys are really great. The NASA flight ops guys were at NASA Ames were just terrific.
Yes, the chat room saying, no pressure. You're just, trying to find water on the moon, a very expensive mission, and your software is controlling the entire vehicle. So, no pressure at all.
Yeah. The pressure actually, in flight, that wasn't that much pressure. What was the real pressure was the 20 months that we had in order to deliver the avionics to the spacecraft integration. That's where the pressure was. So that's a really short time frame. I mean, we had to meet the LRO launch, so
right.
we didn't have a lot of time. We didn't have a lot of options, and we didn't have a lot of money. So NASA said, how much and what would you do for $80 million? That was and you've got to be able to meet the LRO launch schedule. And so Tony Colpreet, who's our principal investigator, and the NASA Ames team got together with the folks at Northrop Grumman and put together this plan to build this spacecraft and put it on top of a rocket and then use the upper stages of the rocket as an impactor. So it was really just a fascinating idea, and the implementation, however, was, as they say, left as an exercise for the reader, which ended up, I was one of the people who was the readers in that case. So we had a lot of fun, and we worked very, very hard. It was a good sized team. It wasn't a huge team, and it was kind of interesting because in the media, a lot of that was characterized as these young engineers who don't know that it can't be done. Yeah, well, there's a lot of senior guys in here too. I'm not a 20-something anymore. Yeah, it's been really it's been a fun ride. LCROSS was a great challenge.
You know, Woe Jeffrey would like to know, and this is actually a really good question, what language did you code this in? I mean, I assume this isn't like a JavaScript type thing.
No, it's not JavaScript. It's mostly C with lightly C++ object-oriented programming. We do a little bit of object-oriented in order to try and kind of abstract some of the structures and the control protocols and keep from repeating code by using application frameworks and things like that. We don't, embedded systems in general don't do any dynamic memory allocation, so you have to be very careful not to do that kind of thing. If you allocate memory, you allocate and hold it forever. That's kind of contrary to the way a lot of C++ is done. So, yeah, it's running on the VxWorks operating system, which is what most NASA missions are flying. And there's a little bit of assembler to make sure that when we have to read and write registers, we do that with minimum interference, that kind of stuff.
And then Trebles asked, what kind of education and past do you have to get into stuff like this? I assume you've got to be a little bit of a space geek as well as just a regular geek, a programming geek.
Yeah, well, I'll let the cat out of the bag. I'm going to be 49 in February. I've been programming since I was about 15.
Wow.
Started on Commodore PET, which is on the other side of my studio. I can see it sitting over there. An 8 kilobyte, 1 megahertz 6502 with interpreted BASIC. That's what I started programming on.
That's awesome.
And your watch has 10 times the processing power.
Right. Pete
And,
is giving you crappy saying punch cards.
I worked on punch cards. My dad was a systems analyst and worked on IBM mainframes and punch cards. And I had done a little of that, line printers and things like that. And then I went to college, actually, to get a degree in Christian education at Oral Roberts University. And I did that for 3.5 years. And then for my senior project for that, I decided I was going to write a computer program, which then was on an Apple II. So I'm still pretty dated in terms of hardware there. And I wrote an interactive teaching application. I was an education major, so I'm writing, kind of multiple choice and the quiz kind of thing where you could, and I had a teacher interface where they could write their own questions and do things like that. So I figured if I'm going to do all that, I really ought to take at least an introduction to programming course. So I take this introduction to programming course, and we're learning Pascal on a Data General Eclipse, which was a mini computer at the time. Had all of 64K memory. Ooh. But big hard drives, the big washing machine drives with the removable packs that were 10 megabytes. It was that big around, and the packs were that tall, like washing machine size things. And I realized that's really what I ought to be doing. So I actually, in my 8th semester in college, I changed from a Bachelor of Arts in Christian Education to a Bachelor of Science in Computers. And then spent 3 more years going to college trying to finish that degree. I'd also had minors in music and telecommunications along the way. So I have 160 undergrad hours, but I don't actually have a degree.
That's awesome.
I got a job. I got a job the day I left college, and I've been so busy ever since. I haven't had any time to go back. So.
Well, hey, you get the degree to help your work life. So I mean, more power to you.
Yeah.
And you say you've been busy ever since. I believe you mentioned you chose to go to the LCROSS team, right? I mean, you requested that. And the chat room was asking why LCROSS exactly? Why did you want that mission?
Versus anything else.
Yeah.
Well, I was working at something at the time that I wasn't particularly interested in. I was doing something for the company that they had kind of asked me to do, and I was getting really bored with it. And I had changed sectors within Northrop Grumman. We've got 7 different sectors, and I had changed sectors. And you have to stay somewhere 6 months before you come back. But when I changed sectors, the group went off and bid the LCROSS avionics after I had already left. So I didn't know about LCROSS at the time I left because they hadn't done it yet. NASA hadn't made that opportunity available. So when they bid it, I was like, wow, that'd be really cool, but there's like 18 teams competing for this. We got a real long shot here. And on April 16th, 2006, when I logged into my computer and brought up my email and looked at, it was probably space.com, and saw that we were the winning team, it was one of those moments where I kind of sat there and stared at the screen for a couple of minutes, and I was just like, my life is about to change. Because this is the moon. I mean, this is the moon. I grew up, you know, was born in 1961. I grew up during the Apollo era. I remember watching, you know, Neil step onto the moon live. And it was the moon, man. I have to go do this. And so I called the guy who had been my boss, whose name is Mark Anderson. I called up Mark and said, Mark, we won. This is really great. How many people are on the software team right now? He said, including you? Always a bad question. I said, yeah. He said, 1.
Oh my God, are you serious?
I was like, the schedule looks like we got about 20 months. He said, yeah, that's about right. I said, can I start today? He said, you better call the program manager. So I called Larry Linton, who's our program manager. I said, Larry, we talked, and I said, can I start today? He was like, yeah. I was like, good, because if we don't start today, we're just never going to make it. And that was the beginning of 3 frantic years, you know, putting together LCROSS avionics, working with just a really terrific team. We pulled some people off of some support contracts. We had some folks that were working at NOAA. We had some folks that were working at Goddard Space Flight Center that were working for us, just as contractors. And we pulled some of those people back, and we hired some great new folks, and put together a really solid team for flight software. We already had a really good hardware and mechanical team to build the avionics, electronics. The group that I work for is only about 100 people, and we built the electronics boxes. We built the command and data handling box, which just got the processor card in it and the flight software. We built the power system electronics box, which turns everything on and off, has all the power switches, has the interface to the solar arrays, and has the batteries and the battery charging. And we built the propulsion and deployment electronics box, which turns things on and off, pulses, relays, and fires all the thrusters. So we built those 3 boxes, interfaced them with the payload and a bunch of other stuff, and eventually sent those boxes off to the Northrop Grumman group in Los Angeles, Space Park, where they built the rest of the spacecraft. So I was back and forth to Los Angeles, needless to say, quite a bit. We were working at the same time hand in hand with NASA Ames. Some of the NASA Ames folks actually came out and were kind of embedded with us while the electronics were being built, and we had actually folks from the Northrop Grumman Space Park group actually came out as well. So we had a very synergistic team. The team worked very well together. The whole spacecraft management was handled, and the spacecraft system engineering, attitude control designs were all done in Los Angeles, and then the group here, and I'm in Lanham, Maryland, on the east side of D.C., and we built electronics and did the flight software.
Hantner, who wants to know who did the communication radio boxes?
The transponders were purchased. I don't remember who they were. The antennas were also purchased. Northrop Grumman did the integration. We built the S-band communications electronics card that's in the command and data handling box.
Awesome.
So you're there, because you were there, right, as it's impacting the moon, I would assume, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What was the general feeling of the room at the time going up to impact, and then after impact, as you're getting the initial impact, as you're getting those images streaming back to you?
Well, so we're watching live. We had a streaming information that was coming directly off the science workstations and the satellite toolkit coming directly from NASA Ames. So I'm not watching NASA TV, I'm watching it, kind of live from the spacecraft operations room as it's being streamed from the Ops Center at NASA Ames to the Ops Center at Northrop Grumman in Lanham. We had 2 other Ops Centers, by the way. We had an Ops Center at Space Park in Los Angeles, and there was a small operations center at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. So there was actually this kind of split up Ops Center concept where we were all connected with voice over IP and webcams. It worked really well. It was really neat. So there was a lot of people in the room for the impact. We had a lot of folks from Goddard Space Flight Center, a couple of the the center. What's his position now? He's at least a branch lead. One of the guys that's been working with us for a long time, and several other kind of VIP kind of people from Northrop Grumman and Goddard were there. We had a lot of synergy with Goddard Space Flight Center, and we have for a couple of decades. And so I can go back and tell you the story of kind of how we licensed the architecture from Goddard that we've used, both software and hardware, for a bunch of missions up into including LCROSS. But yeah, everything was working perfectly, which was really the real nail biter for us right before impact was actually the spacecraft separation, where we separated from the Centaur.
Yep.
Generally, you separate from the Centaur 2 or 3 hours after launch. Here we were doing it like 120 days. So nobody had ever tried this mechanism at that kind of duration. It was just really, we're kind of nail biter. It's like, wow, is this really going to work? And it was just flawless.
And to clarify, you're doing that much later because you were taking that upper stage and slamming that into the moon. That was essentially your missile impact.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, that's our impactor. That's the thing that bombed the moon, which is such an unfortunate term. In some ways it is, in some ways it's not. I want to get back to talking about that.
Sure.
But we wanted to be able to back off from the Centaur so that we could watch its impact and the field of view of the cameras and all that kind of stuff, and the distance that we were and the distance that we were traveling was all very carefully timed and choreographed by the operations folks who designed the mission. They wanted to be able to see the plume and that kind of thing. So it was all very carefully timed. We separated from the Centaur, 4 hours before impact? No, it was more than that. It was 10 hours before impact. And we immediately turned around and turned the cameras on, and we could actually watch the Centaur float away, which was really neat.
Cool.
And the videos for that are, I'm pretty sure there's a video of that on YouTube.
Okay.
But anyhow, so we watched that float away for about 20 minutes. And then we turned the cameras off because we had to change our orientation. We had to turn the cameras off. It would have been really neat if we could have left the cameras on for what they call the braking burn. Because we had to burn our big thrusters for like 10 minutes. So a big thrusters. They're 22 Newton thrusters were our Delta V thrusters. Those are 22 Newtons is about 5 pounds. So there's 10 pounds worth of thrust, But the spacecraft at that point, the shepherding spacecraft was only about, 7 feet across and about 2.5 feet tall. So it wasn't very big. And of course, if you followed the mission, we had almost no propellant left at that point. We had barely enough with a little bit of margin to do the braking burn and to control the attitude as we're flying in toward the moon and following the Centaur on its way into Cabeus Crater. So, the nail biter was the separation. Once that worked perfectly and the tip-off rates were almost exactly straight, because you've got 3 different places that those things are connected, and then they when they separate, they can tip off or whatever. So as we saw that tip-off rates were exactly what we expected and swung the spacecraft around, it worked really just great.
And when it impacted the moon, because we all saw the animations, right? It impacts the moon. There's this giant 3,000-mile high plume that comes out, glorious, shimmering, swirling around with lots of water, and everyone's like, ooh. And then we watch it live. It impacts, and we're like, is it the dot? Is it the where? Is it what is it the? So what was the general reaction there? Because it felt like even NASA was kind of like, where's the plume?
What happened? What happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of, of course we got VIPs, we got visitors in the room. We're kind of like, oh, that worked great, didn't it? It was exactly the way it was supposed to go, you know. And it was, but it really actually it was, and it was very a hard thing to catch, for the same reason that it's very hard to see anything in the bottom of those craters in the first place. Mm-hmm. It's very, very dark in the bottom of the craters, and it's very, very bright everywhere else on the moon. Mm-hmm. So the contrast is huge, and the bottom of the craters are only, what did they figure they are? 40 degrees above absolute zero, 70 degrees above absolute zero. They're just freaking cold. And so they're really tough to see. And if you listen to the mission audio near the end, one of the scientists, whose name is Kim Eniko, Kim was calling out, you know, changes to the aperture and integration times for the cameras and changing things kind of in real time, because they really didn't know how these things were going to react when you got down to the, you know, the only thing you could see was the dark crater.
Right.
They wanted to be able to try and see the crater that the thing had created. They want to be able to see the plume. You've only got from the impact of the Centaur to the impact of the shepherding spacecraft, you've only got 4 minutes.
Right.
And it's all somewhat real time, and nobody's ever done this before. So, you know, trying to adjust things in real time like that. I mean, nobody's got a dial. They don't have joysticks that they're using. You know, they're typing commands and sending stuff up and trying to make sure they get it right.
That would be cool, though, like a gaming joystick. Can you imagine that? All not Elon Musk.
You can do it.
John Carmack.
Very good.
Right? Just
yeah, John in there typing frantically. I love that image of him just, you know. So yeah, it wasn't not controlled with a joystick. All the maneuvers of the spacecraft all had to be programmed days ahead of time and uploaded to the spacecraft hours and hours ahead of time, so that it was following a pre-programmed course. There's no way that, you know, especially for the moon, it's just too far away to be able to do anything in real time.
Right.
So yeah, it was tough. Tough to try and do that.
It was asked earlier, and I don't remember what the delay is. The delay is 1.5 seconds each direction. Is that correct, or is it 3 seconds?
Yeah. No, it's about 1 1/4 one way. But you've got other delays on the ground. I mean, we're talking from, let's see, you're talking from NASA Ames to the Jet Propulsion Laboratory to the Deep Space Network, and then it's either going to California, Madrid, or Canberra, Australia, and then it's going to the spacecraft, and then it's coming back, and then it's going back over to NASA Ames. The total turnaround delay was about 6 seconds. So there's no way you can do that in real time.
But the 1.25, that's just the speed of light, right? I mean,
That's the
we are
one-way
never going to
light
be
time.
faster than that. Well,
Yeah, right.
never, right?
Yeah.
Theoretical maximum.
Well, let's hope it is, but we don't think so. So it's 1.25 light seconds out.
Okay.
So, and at times LCROSS was actually a lot further away than that. A light second's 300,000 kilometers. We were as far away as, I think that in this orbit we got as far away as about 750,000 kilometers. So at some points we were 2 light seconds one-way travel time.
Wow.
Well, and you'll finish up really quick, and I'm not completely sure this is your area of expertise, but I'll ask the question regardless, because you are certainly passionate about, well, all things space, and you're in Spacevidcast and LCROSS, but could you explain in fairly simple terms the results of what LCROSS found?
The results of what they found have been, there was a couple different newscasts that they did, press conferences that they did, and the basic thing that they said was, number one, they found water. They found kind of the top end of what they expected to find in terms of the amount of water. Mm-hmm. They figured that the amount that they could see in the plume that they could see, the portion of the plume that got up in the sunlight that they could see with their spectrometers, was about 100 kilograms. That's about 25 gallons of water. in the plume, the portion of the plume that they could see.
Right.
And they were still trying to figure out how much of the plume they couldn't see.
Right.
So they know the size of the crater because they imaged the crater on the way in. The crater's 90 feet across and 20 feet deep. LCROSS imaged the crater on the way down, and also LRO could see that when they.
What a great place to end tonight. So the Skype video has degraded into something that's completely not useful anymore, and we've lost audio. So that's
Maybe.
The audio here?
Oh, there we go. All right, so let's finish it up really quick. So finish up what you were saying, and then we'll reset you for post-show so we can get your audio and video back.
Okay. So anyhow, about 100 kilograms of water is about 25 gallons is what they could see, but that's a lower bound. It could be as much as 3 times that, but they were still doing the analysis to figure out how much of the plume they couldn't see and figure there's the same amount of water in what they could see and they couldn't see. So they're still doing that analysis.
The big, huge press thing was the big gallons of water. This is what we found.
We got these.
So
No, that's what we found, and even that amount of water that we could see is wetter than the driest desert on Earth. So it's a lot of water. It's more than what they thought they might find. And if you take into account that they didn't see everything that came out of the crater, they were only seeing maybe a third of it, but they're still figuring out how much.
Right.
There's a lot of water there. But they also found methane, which kind of fascinated everybody, and they found sulfur, and they found mercury, which they knew was there. There's a couple other things in the plume, and there were some other hydrocarbons that they hadn't been able to identify yet. So there's a lot of interesting products there, and they just were still working their way through all the data.
And as Gisik in the chat room mentions, you know what this means? Moon base! And that's very true. I mean, we need water for living, we need water for fuel, we need water for everything. And so rather than having to bring water, which is a very heavy element, and trying to escape Earth's gravity with this water, if we can find it where we're at, save that weight, save that energy, all the better. In fact, you can turn it back into rocket fuel to give you energy to get you back to Earth. Yay. So, cool stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, landing water on the moon probably costs on the order of $400,000 a gallon.
It's like bringing water up to the International Space Station, I think is still something like $18,000 per gallon, and that's low Earth orbit. That's not even escape.
Right.
I mean, that's still in our gravity well, so imagine getting out of that. All right, Emory, stay with us. We're going to connect back with you in post-show so that everyone joining us live can ask you additional questions. If you're an Epic subscriber, you can watch this on demand. If you're not familiar with what Epic is, you can go to spacevidcast.com/epic and watch the rest of this interview. I'd like to thank everyone so much for joining us this week. Remember to join us live every Friday at 2 o'clock a.m. Coordinated Universal Time. It's in the U.S. Thursday nights, 6 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Did I say daylight time earlier? It doesn't matter. And I'd like to thank you all for joining us. It was an awesome interview. It was a lot of fun, and we'll see you next week.